In a time of record oil prices and fears of global warming, are we entering an age of natural gas? Hi, I'm Chris Casteel in the Washington Bureau of the Oklahoman. I'm here with Aubrey McClendon, Chairman and CEO of Chesapeake Energy, the Oklahoma City company that is one of the biggest producers of natural gas in the country. Mr. McClendon, thanks so much for coming in. You're very busy in Washington today. You just held a press conference about the supply of natural gas, and you're going to testify on Capitol Hill before the House Committee on Global Warming. What's your main message to policymakers here?
Our message today is natural gas abundance, that we have announced a study today that should provide the foundation on which a new energy policy for this country can be built, and also a brighter economic future can be imagined. And to take that a step further, we've always known that natural gas is a superior fuel. We just haven't known how much of it there is out there. And our study establishes that we have more than a 100-year supply.
And that's a supply based on the current consumption, is that right? And if we were to expand the use of natural gas into the transportation sector a lot more and for electricity generation, what would be the impact on that?
Well, two things. One, you would necessarily say that 118-year supply would be shortened, but I think it's kind of irrelevant whether it's 80 years or 90 years or 100 years, 120 years. At the end of the day, mankind is going to find some other way to propel itself around the Earth and maybe the universe in decades to come. And so I feel like what natural gas gives us the opportunity to do is imagine where we need to be in 20 years or 30 years or 50 years. And I know that any time inside that frame, regardless of the demand growth that will likely come from more natural gas consumption, we have plenty of it to meet those needs.
What do you want the federal government to do to help expand the use?
Well, I'm a free market guy to begin with, and the market is getting this. I mean, the fuel, natural gas, is too cheap, it's too clean, it's too American for the market to ignore. But my concern is that we're headed towards several super spikes in oil prices in the future, and as a consequence, we might be caught not moaning about $4 gasoline, but maybe $6 or $8 gasoline. So I think the government has a legitimate role here to play and say, let's take what the market is naturally doing and see if we can't accelerate that. And so there's three things they need to do. Provide incentives for service station owners to install CNG pumps at their stations. Actually, four things. Incentivize Americans who have natural gas already piped to their homes to buy refueling devices at home. To incentivize car manufacturers to make CNG cars. And then finally incentivize consumers to buy those. And that's all that needs to happen.
Of course, some of those elements are part of a bill introduced by Representative Dan Bourne and Rahm Emanuel recently. And that seems to have some legs with leadership, since Emanuel's a key part of the leadership. T. Boone Pickens was here in town last week testifying for the need to use more wind, solar, and natural gas. He said for him the main issue was this reliance on international oil, and that environmental concerns were second to him. What about yourself?
To me, I don't try and separate them because I think that there are Americans who feel more strongly about one than the other. For me, I think that we have a real present danger that represents itself from shipping $700 billion of our national wealth overseas every year. Certainly, global warming should be a concern of all of ours. It's not quite as immediate, and so I think I've heard T. Boone say, you're not going to have a chance to worry about the environment if we don't get the transportation fuel problem squared away. So my view is I'd just say this is a solution to both of them at the same time.
Mr. McClendon, thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Chris, thank you.
All right. Okay. Look for more on this in the Oklahoman.